Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today we'll be doing a mod Monday. This episode is going to be on the geometric placement mod. We'll be going into greater detail on this particular mod, and the reason why we're doing this is because I think this is probably the #1 mod of any mod on Don't Starve Together. Your base would never look as good without it. So let's go ahead and get started. We have here some bushes, and actually for starters we'll go ahead and press the B button on your keyboard to open up the menu. We have some geometry, we have some color changing, and we have some other stuff. And you can turn the mod off. If you turn the mod off, this is what your building construction is going to look like if you try to make it look perfect. So I'm doing alright right now because, like I said, it came from the PlayStation era where it's more difficult, but I learned how to do it properly. But most people are going to make it's going to look like this. So you're gonna come into a base and it's gonna look decent from this angle, but then you come over here, it looks absolutely horrible. And it works the same way with the saplings and with the grass. But we're gonna go ahead and turn the mod back on by pressing B, turning it on, and then we're gonna try to place some bushes. This time, as you can see, it's snapping. Every time I move it, it snaps to the grid. And you have a perfect row of bushes every time. So that set of bushes paired with the ones that I did by hand, these look nice, but this is what you're usually going to see, something a little bit abstract like that. So that's the basis of it. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the different geometries of this. So as you saw when I came into the world, the map was aligned this way. So as you can see with the turf, another thing you'll notice is when you have your pitchfork out, you have a grid, and each turf has its own square. So the turf I'm on right now has a square right there, and then you can place things dead center of each of these turfs. We currently have it on default camera, so when the default camera is set and you have your grid showing, and I'll just pull up a bush, it's actually showing a square view because your camera is in default mode. But if you were to turn your camera like this, now you have a diamond. So if you rather have a square to align things, then use the default mode if you're in default view. But if you like to have the map like this where everything is squared off naturally like I do, then you want to put the axis aligned. Now it's going to be a square when you have your camera set like this. But every time you come into the world, you're going to be refreshed to the default view, and then it's going to look like this. So just go ahead and turn your camera to make it into a square yet again. And then you have these hexagon modes. These hexagon modes basically just make it so that you can put things into a tighter grid. For example, we'll place some of these bushes into a tight grid. So now you see how there's like a little notch right there at the bottom. You can place this bush right there in that notch and makes it a little bit tighter placement of these bushes. You can continue to do that with your entire bush farm. And then these other ones are just slightly different versions of the hexagon. And also this hexagon X that I have right here is going to line up with the actual turf. As you can see on the left side of the turf is lined up, but if I were to switch it to this without the X, it's not quite lined up with any part of this. So that's that. I'll show you the Z-axis as well. Z-axis is going to line up with the bottom and with the top, but with this it's going to be slightly off. And these are just personal preferences. I like to again use the axis aligned, so I'm going to put that back. And we also have a different color, so what you can do is you can put red and green, which is what you see here, and anything in the red obviously you can't plant there. So if I try to plant it, it just closes it out. And if I try to put it down here, you can actually put it there because it's green. Then you can do red and blue for people who are green red colorblind. You can't place in the red, but you can place in the blue. And then we do black and white. Now a lot of these that I'm showing you right now, like the red and green and the red and blue, these are hard to see in certain times of the game where it's nighttime, full moon, or snowing. So the actual best one to use would be the outline. It takes a little bit getting used to, but if it's the first ones you ever see and you don't ever try the other ones, then it'll be the only one that you know, and you'll get used to it pretty quick. But this one works best in pretty much every season and every time of the day. And then we have a customize, where you can customize each one of them specifically, but that's more advanced. You can do that yourself. Once you get used to the default ones, you want to make it a little bit more specific to your needs, you can do that. Now we have here whether to show the grid or not. So you might like the original way of doing it without the geometric placement mod, but you still want to snap everything together. So if you turn this grid off, you don't have that grid, but you still have the snap of the grid. So it's still snapping within the grid, just like that. We'll get some saplings. You can see it snapping in the grid, and that's different from it being off, where it's just one smooth motion, but it makes it so that it still snaps aligned. Then we have here whether to show the placer or not. So we'll turn it off real quick to show you. This is the placer. It shows you an outline of the sapling when it's planted. So now you can see exactly what it looks like when it's planted and actually grows. So this is actually a picked sapling, but we'll do the bush. So this is what the bush looks like as soon as you plant it. If you turn that off, now you don't see it. Now all you see is your cursor and the icon of the plant. Now if you don't want that icon of the plant, you can turn that off as well, and you can just have the number of how many there are. So now you see that there's 8, so you can plant 8 of these before you're done. And then you can turn it off completely. There's no number at all, it's just the actual plant, just like that. Or you can have it on, but I'd like to keep it off because the icon seems to have no point. And then refresh speed is 10% right now at default. You can turn it up 30. You don't want to go past 30. For example, if you have a bird in your area, it updates that there's a bird in your area, and now that's black. You can't place it on top of a bird, obviously. So if you get closer to the bird, he flies away, and we'll follow this butterfly. See how it's updating that you can't place it underneath this butterfly. But now if you were to put this all the way up to unlimited, it's going to make your server really laggy. So as you can kind of tell, it's super lag. It's a little bit laggy, but if you were to play online with a bunch of other people, it's going to be even more laggy. So I recommend keeping this low. I keep it at 10%. I don't have any problems with it. There's not a whole lot of things that are jumping into your area while you're planting. Usually things fly away from you, butterflies, birds, stuff like that. And then you can fine tune it with this. It's actually just one. Let me turn off this number and turn off that, so you can see it's just one space. And then if you were to put it up to 2, now you have a grid of 2, a little itty bitty grid. Or you can turn it all the way up to 20. Every time you plant something, you can see a huge area. And this is all, again, personal preference. Everything in here is personal preference. You can do the same thing on walls, sandbags, turf, stuff like that. Turn it all up to 5. Turn it down to 2. Doesn't matter. It's all personal preference. But that's pretty much a geometric placement mod right there. This thing is absolutely a must-have for people who want to make a nice looking base. I can't see myself playing without this anymore. This is, like I said, one mod that you just have to have. It's not a cheating mod. It's not giving you any kind of unfair advantages. It's just making things look nice. Now you can do this nice placement without this mod, but it's going to be very tedious, very time consuming, and just frustrating. It's just going to be frustrating overall. So I definitely recommend having this mod. This mod was made by Reza Sheep, and you can find this in the mod listing of Steam. So go check it out, and I'll have his name up on the screen. That's all I have for you today. I hope this video today was helpful for you in deciding whether or not you want to get the geometric placement mod. I highly recommend doing so. And if you did like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It really helps out with the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.